And guess whose words they were? Her own father, Thomas Markle, who has provided a scathing analysis, including revealing the multitude
Markle
of...
is completely right, isn't he, Brittany? However, it is still quite brutal. This is his daughter that he is critiquing.
I don't know why, but I think she had something to do with him moving out.
The palace sold Meghan to the world as a glowing 36-year-old bride, but her own father just tore the wrapping paper off that fairy tale. Thomas Markle claims the numbers don't line up, and when you crunch them, he might be onto something. Most dads speak about their daughters with pride, even when the relationship is rocky. But Thomas, he doesn't play by that rule book.
Whatsoever, we'd have nothing but respect and admiration for them. And the same feeling goes for all the British people. And actually, I want to thank the British people because they've been reaching out to me now and extending their feelings for me. And I really appreciate that.
Thomas, the big question, of course, is whether Harry and Meghan will be in London too. We don't know.
Every time he opens his mouth about Meghan, it sounds less like fatherly reflection and more like courtroom evidence. And his latest bombshell. Meghan's age might not be what the palace has been selling us. Every scandal needs a smoking gun. And in Meghan's case, it isn't some bitter relative ranting to a tabloid. It's something far colder, far harder to dismiss. A magazine archive.
Has never been authentic. She has to think about everything. She's not spontaneous. Everything she says is pre-planned.
To the March 1997 issue of 17 magazine, page 90. There it is in black and white. Meghan Markle listed as 21 years old. On the surface, it looks harmless. Just another line in a glossy teen spread. But stack that next to her official birth year, 1981, and the math screams trouble. If she really was born in 1981, she would have been only 15 in 1997, not 21.
Them hair, and if so, would you like to meet with them in London too during the Platinum Jubilee celebrations?
Interesting question.
That's not a typo. That's a 6-year gap. The kind of age jump that flips the entire royal script. And here's what makes it even juicier. This isn't a whisper in a tabloid.
I know when she's faking it for the cameras. She's trying so hard to be perfect that she tenses up.
Magazines are archived. They don't disappear when the narrative shifts. They sit in libraries, digitized, scanned, preserved forever. Which means this little detail can't be brushed off as rumor. It's history in print. Critics may try to say, oh, mistakes happen. But a 6-year mistake that's not sloppy. It's explosive. Editors make mistakes. Names get jumbled. Ages slip. Details vanish.
Having the feeling that if they know I'm coming, they won't be coming. But if they do come, I would love to.
But when that so-called mistake is tied to a woman who went from Hollywood sets to Buckingham Palace, suddenly it doesn't feel like a typo. Feels like a ticking time bomb. That single line in 17 magazine isn't just a throwaway detail. Meghan's critics are gleeful because it's not coming from Thomas Markle's bitterness or Samantha's grudges. It's an institutional record, a paper trail that carries weight. One line of text and her polished biography starts looking less like perfection and more like a puzzle with missing pieces.
Particularly annoyed about is the fact that Meghan has tried to paint her childhood as some sort of latchkey kid, and he does.
To the casual fan, it might seem petty. Who cares if Meghan is a few years off from the official story? After all, Hollywood is packed with stars shaving years off to stay marketable. But Meghan isn't just another actress. She married into the most tradition-obsessed family on earth. Speak with them and Anne and try to figure out what went wrong and how we can repair.
speak with them and try to figure out what went wrong and how we can repair it.
In the monarchy, details aren't gossip, they're gospel. Royal life runs on precision. Births, weddings, heirs, all locked into history books and national records. These aren't casual family updates. They're constitutional milestones. A wrong date here isn't about vanity. It's about trust. And that's where it gets dangerous. If the palace introduced Meghan to the world with a carefully vetted biography, how could something as basic as her birth year be contradicted by a magazine sitting in archives? Was it a palace oversight? Or did someone hope nobody would ever notice?
And so she is totally trying to reframe everything in order to fit a specific agenda. And I'm always curious, how many versions of her childhood did she tell Prince Harry at this point? Because I've always been under the
monarchy is already wobbling. Prince Andrew's disasters, Harry and Meghan's attacks, constant whispers about King Charles's health. Credibility is everything. And every tiny crack threatens to bring the whole facade crashing down. Meghan's alleged age gap doesn't just rattle her image, it shakes the very system that welcomed her.
Thomas, I want to play you what Prince Harry had to say about the Queen's Jubilee, because he seems to make...
If people start thinking the palace is sloppy with facts or worse, actively hiding them, it feeds every critic screaming that the monarchy is outdated, dishonest, and desperate. And for Meghan, the danger is personal. Her entire fairy tale, young actress grinding in Hollywood before falling for a prince, rests on her timeline.
The reason Meghan Markle did not want Prince Harry to meet her father is that he would not go along with her narrative about her childhood struggles. Because, I mean, she went to private school. She had, I think, a fantastic...
Shift that timeline even a little, and suddenly her whole story looks unstable, like a house built on sand. This isn't Hollywood vanity. This is the crown. And when the crown's credibility is questioned, the fallout spreads far beyond Meghan herself. Stains the monarchy. And here's where it gets messy. If Thomas Markle lit the match, Samantha Markle is tossing gasoline on the flames.
Why he might not make the trip. Let's have a look. This was from NBC's Today Show last week.
With her, it was great. It was just so nice to see her. You know, she's on great form. She's always got a great sense of humour with me.
Meghan's half-sister has built her brand by contradicting her at every turn. But this time, she's not just disagreeing. She's laying out a case piece by piece, like she's been waiting for this moment. While Meghan paints herself as the self-made fighter who clawed through Hollywood before Prince Harry swept her away, Samantha snaps back with a very different story. And she claims it's not so pretty. Meghan's timeline looks polished on paper, but Samantha is ripping it apart piece by piece. Her claim: Meghan's official age doesn't match the life milestones she remembers. School years, jobs, even old boyfriends don't line up. And she's not just muttering to tabloids. Samantha is putting it all on permanent record. Court filings, televised interviews, even documentary.
That is a story she has told her husband in the slightest.
No, of course not. By the way, we are looking at new pictures of the husband, the hair-challenged husband, the follicle.
This isn't gossip. This is strategy. What makes it brutal is the way Samantha frames herself, not as a jealous sister, but as the insider witness who knows exactly where the cracks are. Dates, memories, receipts. She's dropping it all like evidence in a courtroom. Meghan has long brushed Samantha off as bitter, irrelevant, desperate. But this time, the half-sister isn't going away. She's making herself unavoidable by tying Meghan's alleged age gap directly to her credibility as a duchess. Samantha isn't just poking at wounds. She's going for the jugular, striking at the very heart of Meghan's royal image. The royal family, already walking on eggshells with Harry and Meghan, now has another problem.
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. she's had a few jubilees now, so everyone's like, everyone is like...
Meghan's own sister dragging their duchess into a courtroom storm. Every word Samantha drops, every document she waves piles pressure on the palace. This isn't about awkward family dinners anymore. It's a public war, and Samantha seems dead set on proving Meghan rebuilt her image by bending the truth. And here's where it cuts even deeper. Northwestern University, one of Meghan's proudest talking points. She graduated in 2003 with a degree in theater and international studies, hailed as proof of her ambition and intelligence. Back then, Meghan was presented as a 22-year-old ready to take on the world. But then the photos surfaced, old snapshots from her salsa club at Northwestern.
1805 Rock for Responders benefits at the Granada Theatre in Santa Barbara, California. Meghan seems to have moved on.
Meghan beams with classmates, but it's not her smile-raising eyebrows. It's the company she kept. Many of those classmates are now in their mid-50s, decades older than the typical undergrad crowd. So what's the truth? Were these just older students returning to school? Or does it hint at something more complicated? Whispers claim Meghan wasn't the bright-eyed 20-something she was sold as, but much closer in age to her older peers. And if that's true, her academic years don't just look inspiring, they look suspicious. If Meghan was actually born in the mid-70s like critics suggest, her Northwestern graduation takes on a whole new meaning.
Wildfire, she only was really interested when the disaster tourism was going to get her on the front page. Instead, we got this video from her which she described.
She wouldn't have been a 22-year-old stepping into adulthood. She'd have been pushing 30, already rewriting her life story to pass as younger. And that's the scandal. This isn't a harmless curiosity. It strikes at the core of how Meghan built her Hollywood identity. 22, you sell youth, energy, limitless potential. At nearly 30, it's a completely different pitch. Less ingenue, more late starter in a brutal industry that never forgives age. But here's the dangerous part. Universities don't lose records, graduation years, transcripts, rosters. They're locked in history just like royal archives. If Meghan's official age doesn't match what surrounds her time at Northwestern, her carefully built timeline begins to crumble.
Everyone is slightly different.
Yeah. Do you think you'll come?
I don't know yet. There's lots of things with security.
For Meghan, this wasn't vanity. It was survival. 6 years might sound small, but in Hollywood it's everything. The difference between being cast as the bright newcomer or never even getting the call back. Playing 21 instead of 27 opened doors to roles that older actresses never even got a shot at. And it worked. For a while, Meghan landed gigs on Deal or No Deal, Suits, and other projects that banked on her looks and charm. Casting directors weren't lining up for an actress pushing 30.
I can get my kids to meet her.
In these moments, do you ever feel your mom's presence?
No.
They wanted the illusion of youth. Tweaking her age kept her in the game in an industry that tosses women aside at the first hint of getting older. In Hollywood, this is the dirty little secret. Everyone lies. No one flinches when a star suddenly becomes 5 years younger than her high school yearbook. In that world, it's survival, not scandal. But drag that same trick into Windsor Castle and the rules change overnight. What once looked like a career tactic now becomes a constitutional concern. Royals live and die by precision. Birth records, line of succession, legitimacy.
I mean, I saw this video and I thought, oh my gosh, how dull. She really is quite dull.
A duchess with a questionable birthday year isn't just bending Hollywood rules. She's threatening the monarchy's credibility. For Meghan, what may have started as a clever strategy to survive casting calls has snowballed into a headline that risks her entire royal legacy. In Hollywood, age shaving is forgivable. In the palace, it's another crack in a wall of trust already collapsing. May 19, 2018. The world watched as Meghan Markle walked down the aisle of St. George's Chapel, trading Hollywood for royalty in a moment broadcast across the globe. The palace spun the story perfect.
Who is engaging in this? Because it just looks nice. And like her father said, he can tell when she's lying or trying to make things perfect. And
Meghan, age 36. The glamorous modern bride injecting fresh energy into centuries of tradition. That number 36 was repeated everywhere. Mature but not too old. Youthful but not naive. She wasn't some young 20-something starlet dazzled by the crown. And she wasn't a middle-aged divorce chasing a title. She was just right, the palace's Goldilocks bride. But here's the twist. What if Meghan wasn't 36 at all? What if she was already in her early 40s when she said, "I do"? Suddenly, the fairy tale loses its shine. The framing of a radiant bride at her prime shifts into something else entirely. Reinvention, not renewal. And in royalty,
little Instagram video as well. It's too perfect. Well, where's the chaos of a Sunday morning? Who's watching the kids if she's out tending the garden in this very slow and careful manner? The kids don't seem to be around.
Perception is power. A young bride symbolizes stability and continuity for the monarchy. An older bride, no matter how stunning, sends a different message. One less about new beginnings and more about rewriting the story midstream. And here's the sting. If the palace built the entire wedding narrative on a shaky number, what else have they polished, packaged, and sold as truth? Palace PR doesn't leave anything to chance. They choreograph headlines, photo spreads, even the flowers in the bouquet. So, if Meghan was older than the official story, that wedding coverage wasn't just misleading, it was a deliberate rewrite of reality. Critics argue the palace weaponized Meghan's alleged age, selling her as the youthful outsider who would modernize the monarchy.
The nameless, faceless nannies they refuse to acknowledge exist, I guess. But I find her whole setup, company, the show, everything just so incredibly dull. We keep being told how successful.
Insisting the wedding was historic no matter what. But optics matter, and in royalty, optics are everything. Because here's the real problem. If the palace polished something as basic as her birth year to fit a fairy tale, what else might they have airbrushed? In this institution, every photo, every record becomes history. A single blurred detail doesn't vanish. It echoes for decades. The wedding was sold as a brand new chapter for the royals. But if Meghan was already in her 40s, maybe that chapter wasn't as new as we were told. And this is where it gets even juicier. Royal paperwork is supposed to be untouchable. Birth certificates, marriage licenses, official filings.
First about the Queen. He says he might not be able to come for security reasons. I mean, you're coming.
These are the backbone of monarchy artifacts preserved forever, which is why Archie's birth certificate sparked whispers in 2019. First, it looked ordinary. Rachel Meghan Markle listed his mother. But weeks later, something changed and the edit raised more eyebrows than answers. Then came the twist. Archie's birth certificate was quietly amended. Meghan's given names were erased completely, replaced with a single line. Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex.
Never see it on screen. I just never ever see it on screen.
No, indeed. And look,
Palace officials brushed it off as consistency, claiming the edit brought Meghan's entry in line with other royals. But critics weren't buying it. If something as sacred as a royal baby's birth certificate could be altered after filing, what did that say about the rigidity of palace records? To skeptics, it wasn't consistency, it was control, a chilling reminder that in the monarchy, even ink bends when image demands it. And that's when the age debate came roaring back.
I think it's ridiculous. He knows how much security they're going to have.
Because if one record can be changed in plain sight, who's to say earlier documents, birth years, education files, biographies weren't polished too? Supporters dismissed the theory as conspiracy chatter, arguing mistakes happen and corrections are routine. But the timing and nature of this change were impossible to ignore.
Great area. This is in an interview, by the way, with the Mail on Sunday, Brittany. We lived in a great area which was packed with restaurants. We ate out all the time. At weekends...
Why erase Meghan's name? Why weeks later? Why at all? Online, the debate exploded. Fans dissected the amendment as proof that palace paperwork isn't the unshakable foundation it pretends to be. And suddenly, Thomas Markle's claim that Meghan's story doesn't add up didn't sound so far-fetched anymore. In a monarchy obsessed with controlling the narrative, Archie's certificate stopped being a legal form. It became a symbol, proof that the royal machine doesn't just spin stories. It rewrites them.
Totally safe in that situation. And my God, he's going off to the games, which would be far more dangerous for him than...
What started as a handful of skeptical Reddit threads exploded into a full-blown online investigation. Millions of amateur detectives armed with Wi-Fi began digging like prosecutors, posting yearbook scans, grainy salsa club photos, and dusty magazine clippings as if they were evidence in a trial. One viral post spelled it out with brutal clarity. If Meghan was 15 in 1997, then explain this 17 magazine page listing her as 21. Screenshots spread across the web faster than palace staff could whisper. Protocol breach. TikTok edits soon took it to cinematic levels. Slow zooms on old photos, dramatic soundtracks, bold captions like lies and lace.
He was particularly withering about Meghan's love of vast fruit platters, saying, I don't think most people these days can afford to go out and spend $90 on fruit. She's out of touch with normal people. She puts edible flowers on every...
Suddenly, Gen Z, usually too busy for royal politics, had a new favorite conspiracy. Hashtags like #Meghan's real age trended worldwide, turning speculation into obsession. Then came the jokes. Twitter went savage.
So I don't understand half the things he says, and I have so little respect for...
One meme slapped an old Meghan photo with the line 21 going on 15. Disney Channel passed on this script. Another side-by-side of Meghan with older classmates read, "Spot the mature student." What's shocking is how fast it snowballed out of royal watcher circles and into mainstream pop culture. This wasn't just gossip anymore. It was sport.
Silly, kids don't like them, and if you put edible flowers in a kid's lunchbox, they would probably get teased at school. He also didn't like the one pot.
Every sarcastic edit, every meme, every remix added more fuel, making Meghan's real age one of the juiciest royal conspiracies the internet had seen in years. Once TikTok grabs a story, it's no longer a whisper. It's an echo chamber that refuses to die. And Meghan learned that the hard way. If she thought ignoring the chatter would make it fade, she underestimated the internet's hunger for unanswered questions. Her silence on the real age debate became a headline in itself.
I think he's an idiot, and to talk first of all, to come over, to fly all the way.
Supporters defend her choice. Why dignify conspiracy theories with a response? But critics flip it, arguing that silence doesn't erase suspicion, it multiplies it. In royal history, silence is tradition. Never complain, never explain kept the palace alive through decades of scandal. But Meghan's brand was built on breaking that rule, speaking openly about family drama, media attacks, and royal politics. So when she suddenly goes quiet on something this specific, eyebrows shoot up.
Adds the raw spaghetti, which she calls noodles, and then adds water and puts the lid on. Thomas Markle said, "Who makes spaghetti?"
To some, silence looks like strategy. Why hand trolls another victory? Or feed tabloids a quote to twist? But to others, the vacuum she leaves only fuels the fire. When people don't get answers, they create their own and theories multiply like wildfire. And here's the irony. By saying nothing, Meghan gave critics exactly what they wanted, space to spin the story themselves.
That's ridiculous. First of all, most mothers don't leave 9 months.
Headlines now scream, age mystery deepens, while online sleuths claim her silence is proof of guilt. Their logic, if there was nothing to hide, why not shut it down with one simple line? Silence used to be power in the royal playbook, but in today's internet age, it feels more like gasoline on the fire. And the longer Meghan leaves the whispers unchecked, the louder they echo, turning what could have been brushed off as trivia into a shadow over her entire narrative.
I couldn't agree more with that. But Brittany, what's brilliant is online snoops have actually been able to discover that Meghan's own words from her past, and this is what always happens, right, with a...
Behind closed doors, palace insiders are reportedly furious. The monarchy thrives on precision. Birthdays, jubilees, weddings, every detail rehearsed down to the second. Even smiles on the balcony follow an unwritten script. But Meghan's alleged age gap. It's messy, unpredictable, and worst of all, completely out of their control. For the royal machine, this is a nightmare. Not because of succession law or constitutional rules, but because of something more fragile. Credibility. The monarchy survives on a delicate pact with the public.
They usually hold on to that child till the child gets a little older. That's one thing that really bothers me. But the idea that...
Trust our story and we'll give you continuity. Once that trust cracks, no amount of pomp or parades can glue it back together. And that's the danger. This isn't a storyline they can bury under glossy portraits or charity photo ops. A question about Meghan's age cuts deeper than a headline about fashion or feuds. It gnaws at transparency itself. If something as basic as her birth year is blurred, what else was polished? Was the wedding modern fairy tale scripted for PR?
She ate growing up, to the lies she pumped out on With Love, Meghan.
I really enjoyed eating your food. This dish reminded me of the kind of food that...
Were the headlines tailored to sell an image instead of reality? And the timing couldn't be worse. Andrew scandals, Charles health rumors, Harry's endless revelations. The monarchy is already wobbling, and Meghan's mystery might be the push that topples their carefully staged image. The last thing the palace needs right now is another credibility crisis. But here it is spiraling out of their control.
Ridiculous.
So you think Meghan should have travelled to the Invictus Games with Archie and Lilibet? And
what should have been a footnote has become a TikTok punchline, turning their tightly managed narrative into comedy fodder for millions inside those palace walls. This isn't gossip, it's panic. Because kings and queens can survive wars, divorces, even betrayals. But credibility, once it slips, it's almost impossible to claw back. The real danger isn't whether Meghan was born in 1981 or a few years earlier.
Latchkey kid. So I grew up with a lot of fast food and also a lot of TV tray dinner.
So which Meghan are we meant to believe, Brittany? Well, I'm going to plump for the Suits star, okay, rather than the lying former royal.
What that gap represents. We live in a world where receipts rule. Everything is fact-checked, archived, and reposted with side-by-side screenshots. Authenticity isn't just a buzzword. It's currency. If a royal biography can't withstand that level of scrutiny, it doesn't look timeless. It looks outdated, and younger audiences see it clearly. To them, this contradiction proves the monarchy is still clinging to old rules while the rest of the world has moved on. The royals once survived by keeping secrets sealed behind gilded gates, but that playbook collapses in the age of TikTok detectives and Reddit sleuths.
Particular situation. It makes more sense for her now to say she was a latchkey kid when her dad used to send a car to pick.
The idea that something as basic as a birthday could be polished feels like a relic from when PR teams controlled the story. That's why Meghan's alleged age gap matters. It's no longer about numbers. It's about the monarchy's failure to adapt to modern transparency. And every time the palace tries to spin the narrative, the internet fights back with memes, mockery, and receipts that can't be erased.
So which Meghan is it? And this comes down definitely to a fundamental problem with Meghan in the public eye. One that continues to haunt her is that she just has this...
The fallout was never really about Meghan being older or younger. It's about the monarchy's failure to convince the world that their version of events is the only one that counts. And that's the real danger, because once people stop believing the story, they stop believing in the institution itself. Meghan Markle is no longer just an actress turned duchess. She's a riddle the world can't resist trying to solve.
They would probably get teased at school. He also didn't like the one-pot spaghetti, Britney, where she fries vegetables, adds the raw spaghetti, which she calls noodles. And
every grainy yearbook photo, every salsa club snapshot, every magazine clipping gets treated like a clue in a never-ending investigation. Two competing versions now define her legacy. In one, she's the 1981 baby, the Hollywood hopeful who hustled her way into Windsor, breaking barriers along the way. In the other, she's a woman whose timeline was rewritten long before the palace doors opened, carefully rebranded to fit the fairy tale mold.
Because they claim they love the Queen so much.
Absolutely. Not bringing the children was like another.
And here's the twist. Mystery is more powerful than truth. Meghan's silence doesn't kill the speculation, feeds it. Each time she refuses to address the whispers, the questions grow bigger than any answer could ever be. In the world of celebrity and royalty, one rule always holds. Mystery will always outweigh certainty.
you always boil the water, then add the spaghetti. It is the most basic thing, and I couldn't agree more with that. But Britney, what?
And Meghan has become the monarchy's biggest mystery yet. The palace may despise it, but the ambiguity keeps Meghan locked at the center of the narrative. Whether she's painted as a victim of ruthless tabloids or a master manipulator rewriting her own myth, the result is the same. People can't stop talking about her. Meghan isn't just a duchess. She's a puzzle, and puzzles are addictive. The most dangerous part of this saga is that it's far from over. This storm didn't begin with a scandalous book or a leaked email. It started with a single line buried on page 90 of a 1997-17 magazine issue. From there, alumni whispers, grainy college snapshots, and old Hollywood anecdotes fueled the blaze.
That Meghan's own words from her past, and this is what always happens, right, with a compulsive liar.
Now millions are watching, waiting for the next clue to surface. That's the palace's nightmare. Because if one smudge of ink from decades ago could trigger this much chaos, imagine what happens when the next inconsistency is uncovered: another magazine clipping, an old casting call sheet, a forgotten interview. Each new discovery has the power to rewrite Meghan's story all over again. Her age might look like a trivial number on the surface, but in the high-stakes arena of monarchy and modern media, it's more than that. It's a symbol of just how fragile palace narratives really are. A reminder that history today isn't written in ink. It's written in pixels, memes, and viral edits. And make no mistake, the story of Meghan's age isn't over. It's just getting started. If her age was rewritten, what else